صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. If I can have everyone's attention, please. برگردی شروعی باز کنی دوستی ز سر گیرند. روا بود همه خوبان آفرینش را که پیش صاحب ما دست بر کمر دارند. قمر مقابل با روی او نیارد وگر کند همه کس عیب بر قمر گیرند. و چند سال نشاید گرفتی ملکی را که خسروان ملاحت به یک نظر گیرند. خدنگ غمزه خوبان خطا نمی افتد اگرچه طایفه زهد را سپر گیرند. وصال کعبه میسر نمی شود سعدی مگر که راه بیابان پرخطر گیرند. صلوات علی محمد و آل محمد. اللهم صل علی محمد و آل محمد. On behalf of Masjid al-Rasul Board and myself, please accept my deepest condolences upon our beloved Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's departure, the shahada of our Imam Hassan Mushtaba alayhi salam and the shahada of Imam Reza alayhi salam. We will have 2 nights of special programs, tonight and tomorrow, right at 7:30 p.m. at Masjid al-Rasul. We will begin tonight's program and we will dedicate these 2 nights of program to these shahadas and our departure of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We will begin tonight's program with recitation of Quran, followed by Farsi and English translations. On the second session, from the brother side, I have Brother Abbasi and Brother Tehrani who have prepared some articles or poems. We will listen to their presentations. If there's anybody from the sister side, please let me know so I can give you some time. And on the third session, we will have H.I Modarres' speech, inshallah, after announcement. We will be reciting Surah Ahzab, verses 38 through 48. I ask Brother Murtaza Nazari to come forward and recite the Quran, and the English translation will be recited by Hamidullah Abed, Brother Hamidullah Abed, inshallah, and the English translation will be recited by Brother Hamza Nazari, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ما كان على النبي من حرج فيما فرض الله له سنة الله في الذين خلوا من قبل وكان أمر الله قدرا مقدورا. الذين يبلغون رسالات الله ويخشونه ولا يخشون أحدا إلا الله ولا يخشون أحدا إلا الله وكفى بالله حسيبا. ما كان محمد أبا أحد من رجالكم ولكن رسول الله وخاتم النبيين وكان الله بكل شيء عليما. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا وسبحوه بكرة وأصيلا. هو الذي يصلي عليكم وملائكته ليخرجكم من الظلمات إلى النور وكان بالمؤمنين رحيما. تحيتهم يوم يلقونه سلام وأعد لهم أجرا كريما. يا أيها النبي إنا أرسلناك شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. وبشر المؤمنين بأن لهم من الله فضلا كبيرا. ولا تطع الكافرين والمنافقين ودع أذاهم وتوكل على الله وكفى بالله وكيلا. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اعوذ بالله من الشیطان الرجیم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. بر پیامبر در آنچه خدا بر او جایز گردانیده است مشکل نیست. این روش در بین پیشینیان نیست که در گذشته اند بود و فرمان خدا امر مقتدر است. این روش کسانی است که پیامهای خدا را ابلاغ می کنند و از او می ترسند و از هیچ کس جز او نمی ترسند و خدا برای حسابرسی کافی است. محمد، اللهم صل علی محمد و آل محمد، پدر هیچ یک از مردان شما نیست، بلکه او رسول خدا و مهر پیامبران است و خدا بر همه چیز داناست. ای کسانی که ایمان دارید، خدا را یاد کنید یاد کردنی بسیار و بامداد و شبانگاه او را تسبیح گویید. اوست آن که به شما برکت و رحمت می فرستد و فرشتگانش نیز، تا شما را از عمق تاریکی به روشنایی بیاورد و او با مؤمنان بسیار مهربان است. روزی که با او دیدار کنند درودشان خواهد بود و او برایشان پاداش کریمانه آماده کرده است. ای پیامبر، همانا که ما تو را گواه و بشارت دهنده و بیم رسان فرستادیم و کسی که مردم را به فرمان خدا به سوی او دعوت می کند و چون چراغ تابناک نور می گستراند. و مؤمنان را بشارت ده که از جانب خدا کرم بسیار بزرگ خواهد داشت. از کافران و منافقان اطاعت مکن و آزارشان را ندیده بگیر و به خدا توکل کن، زیرا که خدا برای کارسازی کافی است. صدق الله العلی العظیم. صلوات. اللهم صل علی
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. There is no blame on the Prophet in respect of that which Allah has made lawful for him. Allah is present with those who passed away earlier, and Allah's commands are ordained by a precise ordaining, such as delivering the messages of Allah and to fear Him and fear no one except Allah, and Allah suffices as a reckoner. Muhammad, is not the father of any man among you, but he is the apostle of Allah and the seal of the prophets, and Allah has knowledge of all things. O you who have faith, remember Allah with frequent remembrance and glorify Him morning and evening. It is He who blesses you and do so by His angels, that He may bring you out from darkness into light, and He is most merciful to the faithful. The day they encounter Him, their greeting will be peace, and He holds in store for him a noble reward. O Prophet, we have indeed sent you as a witness, as a wielder of good news and warner, and as a summoner to Allah by His permission, and as a radiant lamp. Announce to the faithful the good news, that there will be for them a great grace from Allah. Do not obey the faithless and the hypocrites, and disregard their torments, and put your trust in Allah, and Allah suffices as a trustee. Sadaqallahu al-aliyyul azim.
Thanks to Brother Murtaza Nazari, Hamidullah Abed, and Hamza Nazari for the recitation and the Farsi and English translations. There has been some adjustment to our second session. We will have Ziyarat al-Nabi, which will be recited by H.I Modarres, inshallah. Right afterwards, we will have an announcement by Haji Yasin Amili. There is a sick brother in Kabul, Afghanistan, I believe. He will give you more details about that if you would like to help out this brother. And then we will have Haji Abbasi and Haji Tehrani's presentations, inshallah. میریم و از زیارت النبی که توسط محترم توسط حاجی آقای مدرس قرائت خواهد شد استفاده میکنیم. صلوات علی محمد و آل محمد.
Once again, we pray to Allah, inshallah, we be able to visit Madinatul Nabi and the ziyarat of the Holy Prophet, inshallah, and recite the ziyarat of the Prophet in person, to be worthy of to be in the place of the presence of the angels. And may Allah, inshallah, accept this ziyarah, this is the ziyarat of the Prophet from distance. So may Allah, inshallah, accept it from all of us with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله وأنه سيد الأولين والآخرين وأنه سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين اللهم صل عليه وعلى أهل بيته الأئمة الطيبين السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا خليل الله السلام عليك يا نبي الله السلام عليك يا صفي الله السلام عليك يا رحمة الله السلام عليك يا خيرة الله السلام عليك يا حبيب الله السلام عليك يا نجيب الله السلام عليك يا خاتم النبيين السلام عليك يا سيد المرسلين السلام عليك يا قائما بالقسط السلام عليك يا فاتح الخير السلام عليك يا معدن الوحي والتنزيل السلام عليك يا مبلغا عن الله السلام عليك أيها السراج المنير السلام عليك يا مبشر السلام عليك يا نذير السلام عليك يا منذر السلام عليك يا نور الله الذي يستضاء به السلام عليك وعلى أهل بيتك الطيبين الطاهرين الهادين المهديين السلام عليك وعلى جدك عبد المطلب وعلى أبيك عبد الله السلام على أمك آمنة بنت وهب السلام على عمك حمزة سيد الشهداء السلام على عمك عباس بن عبد المطلب السلام على عمك وكفيلك أبي طالب السلام على ابن عمك جعفر الطيار في جنان الخلد السلام عليك يا محمد السلام عليك يا أحمد السلام عليك يا حجة الله على الأولين والآخرين والسابق إلى طاعة رب العالمين والمهيمن على رسله والخاتم لأنبيائه والشاهد على خلقه والشفيع إليه والمكين لديه والمطاع في ملكوته الأحمد من الأوصاف المحمد لسائر الأشراف الكريم عند الرب والمكلم من وراء الحجوب الفائز بالسباق والفائت عن اللحاق تسليم عارف بحقك معترف بالتقصير في قيامه بواجبك غير منكر ما انتهى إليه من فضلك موقن بالمزيدات من ربك مؤمن بالكتاب المنزل عليك محلل حلالك محرم حرامك أشهد يا رسول الله مع كل شاهد وأتحملها عن كل جاحد أنك قد بلغت رسالات ربك ونصحت لأمتك وجاهدت في سبيل ربك وصدعت بأمره واحتملت الأذى في جنبه ودعوت إلى سبيله بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة الجميلة وأديت الحق الذي كان عليك وأنك قد رأفت بالمؤمنين وغلظت على الكافرين وعبدت الله مخلصا حتى أتاك اليقين فبلغ الله بك أشرف محل المكرمين وعلى منازل المقربين وأرفع درجات المرسلين حيث لا يلحقك لاحق ولا يفوقك فائق ولا يسبقك سابق ولا يطمع في إدراكك طامع. الحمد لله الذي استنقذنا بك من الهلكة وهدانا بك من الضلالة ونورنا بك من الظلمة. فجزاك الله يا رسول الله من مبعوث أفضل ما جازى نبيا عن أمته ورسولا عمن أرسل إليه. بأبي أنت وأمي يا رسول الله، بأبي أنت وأمي يا رسول الله. زرتك عارفا بحقك مقرا بفضلك مستبصرا بضلالة من خالفك وخالف أهل بيتك عارفا بالهدى الذي أنت عليه. بأبي أنت وأمي ونفسي وأهلي ومالي وولدي أنا أصلي عليك كما صلى الله عليك وصلى عليك ملائكته وأنبياؤه ورسله صلاة متتابعة وافرة متواصلة لا انقطاع لها ولا أمد ولا أجل. صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك الطيبين الطاهرين كما أنتم أهله. Let's inshallah extend our hand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. اللهم اجعل جوامع صلواتك ونوامي بركاتك وفواضل خيراتك وشرائف تحياتك وتسليماتك وكراماتك ورحماتك وصلوات ملائكتك المقربين وأنبيائك المرسلين وأئمتك المنتجبين وعبادك الصالحين وأهل السماوات والأرضين ومن سبح لك يا رب العالمين من الأولين والآخرين على محمد عبدك ورسولك صلوات. وشاهدك ونبيك ونذيرك وأمينك ومكينك ونجيك ونجيبك وحبيبك وخليلك وصفيك وصفوتك وخاصتك وخالصتك ورحمتك وخير خيرتك من خلقك نبي الرحمة وخازن المغفرة وقائد الخير والبركة ومنقذ العباد من الهلكة بإذنك وداعيهم إلى دينك القيم بأمرك أول النبيين ميثاقا وآخرهم مبعثا الذي غمسته في بحر الفضيلة والمنزلة الجليلة والدرجة الرفيعة والمرتبة الخطيرة، وأودعته الأصلاب الطاهرة ونقلته منها إلى الأرحام المطهرة لطفا منك له وتحننا منك عليه، إذ وكلت لصونه وحراسته وحفظه وحياطته من قدرتك عينا عاصمة حجبت بها عنه مدانس العار ومعائب السفاح، حتى رفعت به نواظر العباد وأحييت به ميت البلاد، بأن كشفت عن نور ولادته ظلم الأستار والبست حرمك به حلل الأنوار. اللهم فكما خصصته بشرف هذه المرتبة الكريمة وذخر هذه المنقبة العظيمة، صل عليه كما وفى بعهدك وبلغ رسالاتك وقاتل أهل الجحود على توحيدك وقطع رحم الكفر في إعزاز دينك ولبس ثوب البلوى في مجاهدة أعدائك، وأوجبت له بكل أذى مسه أو كيد أحس به من الفئة التي حاولت قتله فضيلة تفوق الفضائل ويملك بها الجزيل من نوالك، وقد أسر الحسر وأخفى الزفر وتجرع الغصة ولم يتخط ما مثل له وحيك. اللهم صل عليه وعلى أهل بيته صلاة ترضاها لهم، وبلغهم منا تحية كثيرة وسلاما، وآتنا من لدنك في موالاتهم فضلا وإحسانا ورحمة وغفرانا، إنك ذو الفضل العظيم.
Thank you, H.I Modarres, for the beautiful recitation of Ziyarat al-Nabi, honoring our Holy Prophet. Please say aloud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. As I mentioned, we have one announcement and two representatives. I ask first to come forward, Haji Yassine Amili, and give us more detail about this brother who is sick in the city of Kabul in Afghanistan, and see what they need at this point and what can we do for this community brother, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. First, I am announcing in Farsi. یکی از برادرای ما در شهر کابل یک سید بزرگوار است که مریض هستن، اونا تکلیف گرده دارن و متاسفانه گردهشان کاملا از بین رفته. من خودم شخصا نمیشناسم، اما کسی که اینا را معرفی کرده دکتر تیمور جعفری، امام جمعه مسجد فتح الله و محل مرکزی کابل است. از اونجا یک شخص بسیار محترم است که همیشه برادرم زیا، ما خودم پول خمس و زکات همیشه برایشان روان میکنیم. این آدم یکی از طلبهایش که طلبه خودشان هم امام جمعه یکی از مساجد است، متاسفانه گردهایش از بین رفته و حالا پسرش حاضر شده یکی از گرده‌های خود برای او اهدا کنن. مصارف شفاخانه و دکتر و اینایشان در حدود $12,000 تخمین زدن اینا، که گفتن برای ما، برای زیا مسیج فرستادن که اگر شما میتونین در مسجد اناونس کنین و اگر برادرها و اینا کسی میتونن کمک کنن دیگه لطفاً اگر شما خواستین کمک کنین هرچی زودتر ما یا برادر ما حاجی زیای عاملی، حاجی فرزاد، حاجی آقای که را ببینن و کمک شما بدون چی نخواهد ماند. امروز ظهر ما اعلان کردم یک مقدار در حدود $1800 جمع آوری شده. اگر شما هم پولای چی کنن کار بسیار خوب میشه. سهم سادات هم به ایشان میرسه چون سید است. ما اشتباه نگم حاجی آقا است میگه من احیا فکأنما احیا الناس جمیعا. اگر شما زندگی یک نفر نجات بدن در حقیقت زندگی یک جمعیت را شما نجات دادن. Dear brother and sister, one announce I received message from Kabul, Afghanistan. One famous person, Imam Jum'ah, Dr. Timur Jafari, he introduced his one of Talaba, which is Sayyid, and he unfortunately lost his 2 kidneys. So right now his son ready to give him one of his kidney. The cost of hospital and doctor around $12,000. So we announced this afternoon, everybody, so our brother and they just gave us like around $1,800. If you guys can donate any amount, they will help a lot, yeah. So please, as soon as possible, see me or my brother, Haji Ziyar, Haji Farzad, Haji Agha. Thank you very much, ya salawat.
Thanks to Haji Yasin Amili. Inshallah, as he mentioned, the brother who is in need of help is a Sayyid, so he will be eligible to get the Khums money if you have. Sahm Sadat as part of the Khums. So if we can help this brother out, that would be great. As he mentioned, around $1,800 so far has been collected, and we need another about $10,000 just for the expenses of doctors and hospital and all the equipments that he needs. He has his son to donate his kidney to him. So that's a good part, but now we have to come up with the money so he can get this transfer done. Inshallah, with our help, see what you can do for this brother, inshallah. As I mentioned, so from the brother side, I have Haji Agha Tehrani and Haji Agha Abbasi. First, I ask Haji Agha Tehrani to come forward and present you what he has prepared. It's going to be a Farsi poem, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
سلام علیکم و رحمت الله. با عرض تسلیت امشب به جای شعر مطلب جدیدی قدامون تقدیم میکنم از استاد شهید مطهری. میخوام از این حالت کلیشه‌ای خارج بشیم. البته من با شعر و اشعار مخالف نیستم، اما شعر و اشعار ما آخرت ما رو ضمانت نمیکنه. اون چه که ضمانت میکنه قرآن، پیامبر و ائمه اطهار. استاد شهید مطهری مطلبی از حضرت علی علیه السلام در کتابی به نام آزادی معنوی صفحه 123 مطرح میکنن و من اونو برای شما میخوانم. البته این مطلب رو طبق معمول با دعا و گزیده از سعیشه سجادیه تقدیمتون میکنم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. ای خالقی که همه عالم از آن توست، ای خالقی که همه عالم از آن توست، ای پادشه که جانم فدای توست. درمان کن این دل آشفته حال را، زیرا قدرت لایزال از آن توست. رحمان تویی، من بنده ذلیل، یا رب گذر ز من که آسان برای توست. ای پروردگار بزرگ، فضل تو عیبها بپوشاند و گناهها ببخشاید، ولی عدل تو بر قانون عدلت بر سیئات و معاصی مجازات دهد و گناهکاران را به سزای گناهشان برساند. یا رب از خطایای ما درگذر و لغزش‌های ما را نادیده بگذاری و قلم عفو بر جرائم اعمال ما درکشی. این فضل تو و عنایت توست که ما را از رنج و عقاب برکنار می دارد و بر فضایع و فجایع کردار ما پرده اغماس فرو می کشد. یا رب، یا رب همچنان بر ما منت گذار و از آنچه که نکوییده کرده ایم و ناپسند روا داشتیم درگذر. یا رب ای پروردگار مهربان، به این مشت خاک موجود زبون و ذلیلی است ترحم فرما و ما را در پناه خیش از عذاب خیش ایمن دار. یا ارحم الراحمین. صلوات. خواهش میکنم سکوت مراعات فرمایید. مطلب جدیدی میخوام خدمتتون تقدیم کنم. خواهش میکنم سکوت مراعات فرمایید. استاد شهید مطهری در کتابی به نام آزادی معنوی صفحه 123 این مطلب از قول حضرت علی علیه السلام می‌فرماید. عنوان این مطلب گریه بی‌عمل فریب شیطان است. عنوان این مطلب گریه بی‌عمل فریب شیطان است. شخصی آمد خدمت مولای متقیان علی علیه السلام و گفت یا امیرالمومنین، یا امیرالمومنین مرا نصیحت کن. حضرت فرمود نصیحت من به تو این که از کسانی مباش که امید به آخرت دارد اما میخواهد بدون عمل به آخرت برسد. استاد میفرمایند مثل همه ما میگوییم حب علی ابن ابی طالب کافی است. تازه حب ما حب حقیقی نیست. اگر حب حقیقی بود عمل هم پشتش می آید. ما خیال می کنیم که یک گریه دروغین بر امام حسین علیه السلام کافی است، ولی امیرالمومنین فرمود اینها دروغ است. اگر حب علی ابن ابی طالب تو را به عمل کشاند، بدان که حب تو صادق و راستین است. اگر گریه بر حسین ابن علی تو را به سوی عمل کشاند، بدان که تو بر حسین ابن علی گریه کرده ای و گریه تو راستین است، اگر نه فریب شیطان است. حالا ما از خودمون سوال کنیم آیا ما حسینی هستیم؟ خداوندش با خود شما از خود سوال کنیم ما امر معروف نهی از منکر میکنیم؟ حتی کسانی که امر معروف ما میکنن ما گوش نمیکنیم. چند بار حاج آقا فرمودن که آقا ماشین تو پشت ماشین دیگران پارک نکن. گوش کردیم؟ نه. اگر کارمون درسته حق پشت از حقانیت خودمون دفاع کنیم. مسجد جای همین حرفاست. اگر کار ما حق نیست چرا باطل در خانه خدا انجام میدهیم؟ چرا؟ پس میبینیم ما امر معروف نهی منکر که نمیکنیم هیچی، اگر دیگران هم میگن گوش نمیکنیم. آیا ما قرآن رو گوش میکنیم؟ چند بار در قرآن گفته شده وقتی قرآن خوانده میشه سکوت کنیم. سکوت میکنیم؟ چند بار حاج آقا فرمودن موقع که اذان گفته میشه سکوت کنیم. سکوت میکنیم؟ چند بار حاج آقا فرموده وقتی نماز تموم شد تعقیبات نماز هستش، دعا هستش، قال نکنیم. گوش میکنیم؟ قضاوت با خودتون. حالا برمیگردیم به مطلبی از استاد شهید مطهری درباره انسان کامل. البته من فقط فرازهای کوچکش امشب میخونم، بقیه‌اش رو میذاریم برای ماهای آینده. عنوان این کتاب انسان کامل. موضوع بحث انسان کامل از دیدگاه اسلام است. توجه فرمایید. انسان کامل یعنی انسان نمونه، انسان اعلی، انسان والا. انسان هم مانند بسیاری از چیزهای دیگر کامل و غیر کامل دارد، بلکه معیوب دارد و سالم. انسان معیوب داریم، انسان سالم. باز انسان سالم دو نوع است، انسان سالم و کامل، انسان سالم و غیر کامل. ما اگر بخواهیم یک مسلمان کامل باشیم، چون اسلام می‌خواهد انسان کامل بسازد، باید بدانیم که انسان کامل چه چیزی است. چهره انسان کامل چگونه چهره است؟ انسان کامل چگونه مشخصاتی دارد و اگر ما انسان کامل اسلام را نشناسیم قطعا نمیتوانیم یک مسلمان تمام و کامل باشیم. شناخت انسان کامل از نظر اسلام دو راه دارد. یک راه این است که ببینیم قرآن در درجه اول و سنت در درجه دوم انسان کامل را با بیانات خودشان چگونه توصیف کردند. این اولین راه. دومین راه این است که افرادی عینی از انسان‌ها افرادی که مطمئن هستیم که اینا ساخته شدن آنچه که قرآن می‌خواهد، آنچه که اسلام می‌خواهد. خود پیامبر اسلام نمونه انسان کامل است. علی علیه السلام یک نمونه دیگر از انسان کامل است. شناخت علی، شناخت انسان کامل، اما شناخت علی نه شناخت علی به اسمش و نسبش، شناخت شناسنامه‌ای. یک وقت انسان علی را شناسنامه‌ای میشناسد. یعنی چی؟ یعنی نامش علی، پسرش ابوطالب، پسر ابوطالب پسر عبدالمطلب، مادرش فاطمه دختر ابن اسد، شوهر فاطمه زهرا، پدر حسن و حسین، در چه سالی متولد شده، در چه سالی از دنیا رفته و چه جنگ‌هایی کرده. اینا را میگن شناسنامه‌ای. اما برای شناخت علی باید شخصیت او را جستجو کنیم که انشاءالله در آینده به عرضتون خواهم رساند. در حال سلامتی همگیتون صلوات عرض کنیم.
و آل محمد. با تشکر و سپاس فراوان از محترم حاجی آقای تهرانی و از مطلب زیباشان. I've asked Brother Abbasi to postpone his poem for the tomorrow night or some other night. It's already past 9. I don't know, we have to keep moving, and he was gracious enough to accept my offer, so thank you so much for doing that and accepting the offer to recite your poem some other day. Very quickly, our Tahas. Yes. بفرمایید.
عرض کنم خدمتتون، من یه مطلبی امشب خدمتتون عرض میکنم. چه فرقی است بین مسجد و دانشگاه؟ هر کسی امشب جوابشو بده من $50 بهش جایزه میدم. اگه یه نفر باشه $50 جایزه گرفته، ولی اگه چند نفر باشن من نمیتونم بدم، قرعه کشی میکنیم. پس ببینید امشب جواب اگر چه فرقی است بین مسجد و دانشگاه. اگر جوابشو امشب دادیم $50 گرفت، نگیریم من فردا جوابشو میدم. ببخشید صلوات.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So basically he was, for the English speakers, he gave us a questions. What is the difference between university and masjid? You come up with the right answer. If whoever has the right answer, he's gonna reward you $50. So again, for those ones who are speaking English, what is the difference between university and a masjid? If you get the right answer, Ajagha Tehrani will reward you $50, inshallah. But if we have too many people having the right answer, he's going to do it by raffle and pick one name and reward that brother or sister, inshallah. With that being said, our Taha Islamic School will be open tomorrow, 9:30. Please drop off your kids at least 10 minutes prior to 9:30, inshallah. And again, tomorrow night, we have another night of program tomorrow night at 7:30 right here at Masjid al-Rasul, inshallah, honoring Imam Hassan Mushtaba alayhi salam and Imam Raza alayhi salam Shahada. Inshallah, and tomorrow night will be marking the last day or the last nights of our Muharram and Safar programs for this.
This reminded me of the final days of month of Ramadan when the energies are going lower and lower. So the response was not for some reason here. Assalamu alaikum. For the honor of our beloved Prophet, the best of creation, Ashraful Anbiya, the seal of the messenger, Khatam al-Anbiya wal-Mursaleen. Recite the loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The second salawat for the honor of other shaheed of these days, Imam al-Ridha Ali ibn Musa Ridha alayhi salam. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Beloved grandfather Rasulullah, the Imam of our time, and hastening his reappearance, recite the third salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه وحبيبه حافظ سره ومبلغ رسالاته حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين، سيما بقية الله في السماوات والأراضين. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقدموا بين يدي الله ورسوله واتقوا الله إن الله سميع عليم. صدق الله العلي العظيم. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purify our souls, illuminate our hearts by the light of Iman and guidance, by the honor of the beautiful name of the Prophet, and salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Once again, my condolences on the arrival of the final days of month of Safar and the anniversary of the departure of our beloved Prophet, the one that his status, according to a Qudsi hadith, is that Allah said, I created the universe because of you. لَوْلَاكَ لَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْأَفْلَاكَ. If it wasn't because of you, O Messenger, I would have not created aflaq. Also, my condolences on the shahada and martyrdom of our eighth Imam, Ali ibn Musa Ridha alayhi salatu wassalam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to be on the path of the Prophet and on the path of the family and the qurba and the Ahlul Bayt of the Prophet, with another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Because it was a last minute announcing the title that I choose for the speech tonight is a life inspired by the messenger, meaning there are different approaches based on what is the way, what is the lifestyle that I'm going to choose for myself or my family. But the question is, when we call ourselves Muslim, what should be the difference in my life in comparison with someone who doesn't have this blessing? It's not just a title or a label that we get. Rather, it's about changes that it makes to my life. To be the follower of this messenger that Allah said he is an example. He's a role model for us to look up to, emulate, replicate his way of life, which we refer to his way of life as sunnah. And Allah said, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. Hasana meaning good, acceptable, worthy. If you're looking for an acceptable, worthy, and good example in the character of the Prophet, is what Allah wants us to replicate. Because as human beings, we have no choice but to emulate and copy and replicate the behavior that we see. So think about it. we learn a lot from our parents, right? Our body language, even our way that we speak at the early years of our life is based on our environment. We look up to our parents, how they talk, and how many times we've seen how children, they are, funny in some way, that they are copying exactly what their mom or dad does. Why is that? It's part of our nature. This is part of our creation, that we copy, we replicate and emulate our surrounding. And it continues when we go to school. We start mimicking, to some extent, our teacher, our classmates, our peers. And as grown-ups, this continues. And eventually, at some stage of our life, hopefully that we understand that this is my character. You start developing a personality that is unique to you, which is usually is a mixture of pieces that we took from everywhere. If you are coming to masjid, there are things that you took from here. If you were hanging out, God forbid, in a different kind of environment, God forbid, let's say in a bad environment, you pick up certain qualities from there. Our slangs, the way we make jokes, the type of jokes that we laugh at, these are all learned. There are none of them that we were born in this way. That's why if you say a joke in English, for example, good luck saying a knock-knock joke in Urdu or Farsi. Nobody finds this funny. Why? Because even humor is something that we learn. It's not something that, it's funny or not funny. Yes, there are some humor that is universal, but many of them is culturally conditioned. Certain topics are considered humorous and certain of them are not. Why I say this? Because the character of the Prophet is a character worthy of emulating. Why? Because other people around us, when we look at them, they make certain decisions in their life. We look at their ambitions, their dreams. We look at what they like and dislike. Their desires plays a role in their decision. Means they don't have that, non-biased opinion about reality. But when it comes to our Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, مَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى. First of all, you should know about him. Allah could know, for example, we believe in Ahlul Bayt. One lie is that nowhere in the Quran the name Ahlul Bayt has been mentioned. I just had this conversation with one of the youth last week, I believe. So, okay, let's do it together. You have an app right now. You don't need to be an expert in the Quran. You don't need to be a hafiz of Quran. Just all you need is to know how to type Arabic. Let's put the word Ahlul Bayt in the Quran and search it. You'll see the word Ahlul Bayt is there in the Quran. But forget about that. You say, why the name of Ali is not in the Quran? The reality is, I talked about this topic before. I'm not going to repeat myself. If you are interested, it's recorded. You can look it up. But these are all excuses at the end of the day. Because even there are straightforward concepts in the Quran that Allah mentioned and still people ignored them, including this ayah. So imagine if the name of Ahlul Bayt were mentioned. Do you think the excuses were done? If Allah would have mentioned them, no more excuses? I promise you in some shape and form, it would have still been some other excuses. When Prophet said in Ghadir man kuntu mawla, Fadha aliyun mawla. For that straightforward statement, they find a way to say, it's not, mawla doesn't mean mawla, it means something else. Mawla means habibi or friend. So for example, if you go to the Arab world, doesn't matter which country, nobody called their friend mawlai. No one. Mawlai. You go to Saudi Arabia, go to Egypt, no one. They say habibi, habibti. But apparently here, we go with that possible, because there is the meaning friend for mawla, but it's not the first used word for it. Mawla is only used for the position of authority. Mawlai, Mawlana, these are the ones referred to someone with authority, with the knowledge, with the expertise. So Allah in the Quran said, مَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى. This messenger, what he says, it doesn't come from hawa. It's not inspired by ego or desires. In huwa illa wahyun yuha. What he says is nothing but revelation that we send down to him. He's the messenger. What does the word messenger mean? What's the meaning of the word messenger? Meaning he receives a message, and then he delivers the message. The sad part is that when Prophet in many occasions said certain words, unfortunately, this label was given to Prophet that Prophet said it because he was emotional. There are, unfortunately, this belief among some school of thought in Islam. Yeah, Prophet was in a good mood, he said it. Prophet was angry, he said it, as if his emotion dictate, God forbid, what he says. To the point, because we are commemorating his departure, these are in the history of the book of Hadith of Muslims, not Shia books. Muslims. Shia and Sunni. This is agreed upon. That Prophet, before he passed away, he asked for something to be written, a message to be delivered. He said, kitfi wal dawat, which is something to write on. Dawat is the ink. He asked for it. And people around Prophet, including companions, they start arguing as Prophet was sick, whether we should provide Prophet with something to write, to leave us a message or not. We have that some companions said, wahjur. He's delirious. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Hasbuna kitab Allah. Quran is enough for us. We don't need what he has to say. Again, agreed upon by all Muslims. To the point that there become two groups. One saying this word, that accusing Prophet of, God forbid, not being in his right mind. This is not an easy accusation, by the way. And the other group saying, no, this is a messenger of God. Whatever he says, we have to obey. Man yuta'i Rasul faqad ata'a Allah is not an option. Ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul. He is still the Rasul, still alive. To the point that this argument came to a point that Prophet got upset and said, leave me. Leave me alone. Leave. Quran said, Ma yantiqu anil hawa. So a life inspired by the messenger is important to know that people look at Prophet and say, how can we live like him? And the reality is not everyone is living his life. Because in some shape and form, if you look at after Prophet, many claim to be a follower of the Sunnah of the Prophet. Even in our time, we have tyrants and oppressors who claim they're following Prophet. But who is the one who lived a prophetic lifestyle? Who is a better person to tell us than Prophet himself? Not what H.I Modarres think this is the way to be inspired by Prophet's life. Not what someone who has a different madhab think. No, what Prophet himself says. Quran says, look up to him, emulate him, and be like him. How can we be like him? This is the hadith that inshallah, that would be the topic for tonight. This is how can we learn to be like Prophet, to walk on the footsteps of the Prophet. I mentioned in Jummah Salat today, Ali ibn Abi Talib said himself, said the way I was with Prophet was like, imagine the analogy that Prophet used for the Arab of the time, camel was an accessible analogy. So you see a lot of camel analogy. So he said that my relationship to Prophet, the way I was with him, was like a camel and its calf, and a baby camel. Meaning that you see wherever the camel goes, the baby camel is start following, chasing. This is how it was. Wherever Prophet went, I was with him. He migrated, I was with him. He was the one who started a message, I was with him. Who is the one that was taking food for Prophet when he is in the cave of Hira? I was there. Tell me where Prophet was that I wasn't. That's someone who follows Sunnah of the Prophet. No one can claim that they follow Prophet's Sunnah like Ali ibn Abi Talib. And the reason Ali ibn Abi Talib had issued with some other people of his time was because they asked him to follow Sunnah of the Prophet and the Sunnah of other people. And he said, no, only Prophet. I will not take anything else. Only Quran and Sunnah of the Prophet. And for that he was pushed aside. These are part of history that, again, is not a matter of being sectarian or try to, God forbid, in any way be offensive. This is the history. When it comes to Prophet, Ali ibn Abi Talib did not negotiate. Did not negotiate. But how can we live like Prophet? The most important thing is to learn about his life. So my first advice to you is to read on his life. There are some books out there. There's some good literature out there that it talks about the biography of the Prophet, seerah of the Prophet. And to learn how he lived. What did he stood for? The beautiful part of his life is that our Prophet has so much to teach us, especially for us that we live in a majority non-Muslim country. Majority are non-Muslims, right? Prophet's life has lessons for us. Why? Because Prophet lived for 53 years out of 63 years. Prophet lived among non-Muslims, mushrikeen. 40 years was prior to his prophethood. He lived among the Arab of the time. They were pagans, idol worshippers. 13 years of his prophethood, he was in Mecca. That's 53 years. Only last 10 years he went to Medina, that he started and established a society and an ummah and a community. Before that, always majority were non-Muslim. And there's so much we can learn from his akhlaq, his character, his personality. Especially for us. Because it's very easy to be confused. So what Prophet himself said, recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, said, if you want to be someone to live like me, right? أَلَا أُخْبِرُكُمْ بِأَشْبَهِكُمْ بِي. Do you want me to tell you who is most similar to me? Who has the most amount of resemblance of me? Khulqan, his character. This is a life inspired by Prophet. What he said. What he touched upon. قالوا بلى يا رسول الله. People who were around Prophet said, yes, indeed we want to know. قال أحسنكم خلقا. So the one who is closest to me in character, he emulated me the best, is the one that his akhlaq is the best among all. His character means his akhlaq, meaning his manners. His ultimate behavior. Husnul khulq, good manners, has different pieces and different components. But ultimately is that overall you're not someone that is known for bad akhlaq or bad manners. Someone that their actions, the way they treat people, the way they respect or disrespect, these are things that contributes to the concept of akhlaq, khulq. You know, there's a very, and this is the beauty of Arabic as well. The word creation mean in Arabic is khalq. Khaliq is creator. Khulq is just certain vowel changes. The letters are still the same. So creation and character, they're infused with each other. Khalq and khulq. They're interconnected. And Prophet said, the best of you that is most similar to me is akhlaq. Number one. وَأَعْظَمُكُمْ حِلْمًا. The one who has the highest level of forbearance, hilm, tolerance. I talked about forbearance a few weeks ago on the topic of how to think clearly. I think I covered it enough. But meaning that what is the threshold of our tolerance? Sometimes things are not going according to plan. Not sometimes, many times. Because we have expectations, we have certain assumptions, and things are not matching up our assumptions and expectation. Hilm is to control yourself, not to lose your ability to think clearly and to make right decision. Hilm, forbearance. Because one thing that we hear from people is that we make mistakes, and one thing that we over and over say is, it wasn't my fault. They made me that way. They said something and I returned the favor. They come at me, I defended myself. Hilm, you don't have to have hilm with wise people, by the way. Hilm means what? Forbearance meaning what? It means you are right. You are right. Haqq is with you, and you still control yourself. Because sometimes we lose our mind. Let's say somebody come at us. It happened, they come and hit you from behind. You're driving, right? If it's an impact from rear, from the back of the car, usually it's their fault, obviously. Imagine they come at you and say, no, it was your fault. It's very easy to lose your temper, right? That you hit me, you're at fault, and you come at me. That's the moment of hilm. That's the moment of not losing control. If you are at fault, it's your fault, and people are angry with you, that's not a moment of hilm. That's a moment of being decent. You have to accept your fault. I don't need to be halim. I made a mistake and now people are upset with me. I have to accept I was at fault. They have the right to be upset with me. I made a mistake. Hilm is if you know you're right. That's our Prophet. That's our Prophet. That's the hilm. Which occasion we can find that God forbid prophets was at fault? You can't. And people, unfortunately, sometimes we see in the history, they are even entitled that, oh, why prophet you did this? There are many verses of Quran Allah talks about, إِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. So just look at the language of Quran. When it comes to the entire world that we live in, this big earth that we live on, with all this different walks of life and the complexity of the nature, all that. When Allah comes to dunya, what it says? مَتَاعُ الدُّنْيَا قَلِيلٌ. So all that you see on this earth possessing a noble character, a great honorable character, to the point that Allah stand up for him. Why Prophet said, مَا أُوذِيَ نَبِيٌّ مِثْلَ مَا أُوذِيَ. No messenger of God was disturbed and hurt the way I was. Why? So look at the Quran. Bani Israel made mistakes. They heard Musa alayhi salam in their own way. But it wasn't that people of our Prophet's time, they were all understanding, no jahil, no ignorant. Our Prophet has to deal with the munafiq and the hypocrite as well. Has to deal with the mushrik and the enemy and the polytheist as well. Has to deal with the friend who are ignorant and fools as well. 3 different kind of people Prophet has to deal with. To the point that Surah Al-Hujurat was revealed. The ayah that I recited at the beginning of my speech. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. La tuqaddimu bayna yaday Allah wa rasulah. O believers, if you have iman, if you have faith, do not advance, do not venture ahead of Prophet. Walk on his footsteps, not the other way around. La tuqaddimu bayna yaday Allah wa rasulah. Prophet gave Fadak as a gift to Fatima az-Zahra. After Prophet passed away, they reversed his decision. Why? No Prophet will leave inheritance. Why? We say so. Fadak is not about a property. It's about reversing on a decision made by Prophet. And Allah said, "La tuqaddimu bayna yaday Allah wa rasulah." Do not go ahead of them. If he says don't do it Jamaat, don't do it Jamaat. It's not your choice. It's not my choice. La tuqaddimu bayna yaday Allah. Sometimes we ask this question, why? What's the big deal? Why we say this is not permissible? It's a good thing. And the answer is that if Prophet give us the validation, the approval, Bismillah. If he said it directly, no, no. We cannot go ahead of him. Wattaqullah. And Allah said, be God conscious. Be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you cannot teach Prophet what to do. You have to do exactly what he says and follow him. In the next ayah, Allah even goes further than that. He said, look, the Prophet has to be very, very halim. Halim means he has a lot of tolerance. Because people were doing it that Allah said, don't do it. Even when he was alive, they would do it. There are narrations about it. We have one time, this is a sad part. These are unfortunately historically sad. People said day of Ashura, fasting is mustahab. We disagree. It's a matter of disagreement. Okay. We don't say it's haram to fast in Ashura, but we say it's not advisable. It's not mustahab. Those who say that is mustahab, we respect their opinion. There are 2 or 3 tradition maximum about the fasting of Ashura. They say this is the day that Allah saved Musa and Bani Israel from Fir'aun. Musa and Bani Israel were being persecuted by Fir'aun. Ashura is the day Allah saved them. That's why. Same people who said you are kafir because you talk about a man who died 1400 years ago, Abu Abdullah al-Salam. So you're crazy. Why you talk about the man who died 1400 years ago? Same people fast the day of Ashura for an event that took place 3,000 years ago. Musa a.s. was saved by Allah. That's okay. But talking about Imam Hussein apparently is not. Although this is most recent. There's this double standard. Second, the tradition that they talk about is that when this started. There are a lot of contradiction among those traditions itself, but one of them is that Prophet came to Medina. This was not happening. So 13 years in Mecca when Prophet was a messenger of God, they were not fasting. They came to Medina, and there were Jewish people living in the neighborhood of Medina. And they were fasting apparently on the day of Ashura, according to that story. So Prophet asked, what are they doing? Said they're fasting. Because they say this is the day that Nabi Musa alayhi salam was saved. And the Bani Israel. To show gratitude, we do it. Apparently, according to that tradition, Prophet Musa alayhi salam said, I'm going to do it from now on too. Nabi Musa was my brother, and I'm going to follow the path of my brother. What's the issue with this? That a prophet of God is just coming up with opinions, didn't know. Now we're going to make it a tradition because they're doing it. And who's doing it? People of other religions. It's not the stamp of Allah's approval. The other one was that Mushrikeen were used to honor the 10th of Muharram before Prophet. There's a lot of loopholes in that narration. And it's not even authentic. But the point is that لا تقدموا بين يدي الله ورسوله. A prophet will teach what Allah wants him to teach, not that he just come up with an idea from other group of people. They're doing it as a good idea, let us do it too. This is not the way a prophet makes decision. It's not up to him. ما ينطق عن الهوى. He doesn't speak from his desires and whim. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا ترفعوا أصواتكم فوق صوت النبي. O believers, do not raise your voices above the voice of the Prophet. Apparently people were screaming and shouting around Prophet. There are cases of that. That Prophet was not saying anything. وَلَا تَجْهَرُوا لَهُ بِالْقَوْلِ كَجَهْرِ بَعْضِكُمْ بَعْضًا. And do not speak aloud to him like you shout at one another. Stop calling him by his first name. What happened if you do so? What's the danger? أَن تَحْبَطَ أَعْمَالُكُمْ. lest your work should fail, meaning that your good deeds will go to waste if you disrespect Prophet. If you dishonor him, will be a way that your a'mal will be destroyed. Your good deeds will perish because of this sin. وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَشْعُرُونَ, without you being aware. You disrespect them, and this is what happened to you. So, our Prophet was the most patient and the most forbearant of all with people. It's very disheartening. You read the history, and it's very hard to believe that people, some of these Bedouins would come. They were not very familiar with maybe the etiquette of how to behave in social circles and all that. So they would come from outside the city, and they come to the mosque, they come to Prophet, and then they extend their feet to the Prophet. Some of them even put their feet on Prophet's lap. And they said, Ya Muhammad a'idhni. Oh Muhammad, give us some advice. Teach me something. Imagine, this is Ashraful Anbiya. He is the one who's changing the course of human history. He's the one that قَابَ قَوْسَيْنَ وَأَدْنَى. He advanced in a level that even Jibreel and archangels could not advance to that level. And now a man come and throw their feet at you and said, tell me something. He would start teaching him. This is sabr. So sometimes if they don't call us by my title, why didn't tell me by I am a doctor, I am an engineer, I'm a Maulana, I'm a Shaykh. We lose our mind. I knew you're jealous. I knew you tried to put me down. Hilm is to control yourself. Dealing with the ignorant. Dealing with the one who doesn't know. And Allah said, the one who's most similar to me is the one who is أَعْظَمُكُمْ حِلْمًا, who has the highest level of forbearance. Number 3, Prophet said, وَأَبَرُّكُمْ بِقَرَابَتِهِ, the most helpful to his relative. Abar come from bir. Bir, abar is the tafdhil, meaning the most, the highest form of it. The most helpful of you to your qarabah, to your family. You know, I've seen, this is a culture now, everybody talks about some family members are toxic, you have to get rid of them. Stop caring too much. The reality is, yes, there are people who are toxic, I don't deny it. But to live a life that we get rid of people because they're not perfect, and not thinking twice that I'm not perfect either, is going to help us to even isolate ourselves furthermore. And surrounding ourselves with people who just praise us. Oh, you're good. You're the best of the best. Is not going to do us a favor. If you're going to be someone who always pampered, right? You're always treated with most cautious. It's like children who don't learn, falling is part of life. What happens? If you treat them excessively in a bubble wrap kind of setting, that there's no way they can experience any level of discomfort, they have a tough adulthood coming for them. Because life is not going to be that way. Forever you cannot have bubble wrap around them. And family dynamic is tough, my brothers and sisters. And it's fine. It's supposed to be tough. The moment you have 2 people, it's difficult. More difficult than 1. Because if it's 1, I'm going to go and eat this. That's it. The moment you come 2, I like that one more. Who's going to decide? Right? Who's going to decide? 3, even more problem. 4. That's why communities, centers, when they get bigger, problems start growing more. Because you have more people. It's not that it's evil or anything, because you have more opinion coming in. Oh, let's run the center like this. We need more of this. We need less of that. When there are not that many people, it's easier to manage. It's part of our nature. And when you have a big family, yes, it's a gift of God. Because one issue that we have is people not having enough family. You know, many of your parents, they were blessed because they had uncles and aunts and cousins. Many of new generation, because many kids, they only have one kid or two kids maximum, they don't have uncles, they don't have aunts. So smaller and smaller circles. And we have tough time hanging out with someone who has a lot in common with us. Do you think we have an easier time with some stranger with a different culture? We're ready to make a compromise with someone with a different religion. Make a compromise. With someone with different culture, but we have a tough time compromising with someone who has much more in common. Some of that comes to a lack of respect to our own cultures. We always look down upon ourselves, inferiority complex. We think that we're not good enough. Diversity is good. We're not against it. Allah said the one who has taqwa and piety, doesn't matter what culture, what ethnic, doesn't matter, any of that. But the reality is sometimes we push aside family because we don't consider them worthy. If somebody else make the same mistake like them, but if they're white, it's okay. We're only human. There's a lot of room for people to make mistakes if they are not from my culture, from my family. If my family doesn't know, I don't expect this from them. I need to get rid of them. And I've heard people actually preaching on this. So, you know, sometimes you have to get rid of people from your life. They're going to hold you back. They're not going to be happy. Yes, there are cases like that, and you should know, but not every case is like that. And Prophet said the most similar view to me is the one who is most helpful, the most good to their relatives. Do you think we have a tougher time than Prophet and his uncle Abu Lahab? That our uncles are worse than Abu Lahab, you're telling me? We have tougher time than Prophet dealing with his tribe, Quraysh, to sponsor and fund battles and fights against him, that even when he went all the way to Medina, he migrated and left Mecca, he didn't leave him alone. They came all the way to attack him again. We have tougher time than that. We need to be careful and caring for our relatives. If you want happiness, Saleh Rahim, is one of the good deeds that extend your life, make you live a longer life. Is Saleh Rahim, is to connect, to visit relatives. And apparently they did some studies about longevity and about long life. And one thing is about interactions, is about the social circle that you have. People who are alone and they feel alone, usually it affects their longevity. It's not only their mental health that is affected, their also physical health is affected. You know, the worst feeling is that you sit on a Saturday and Sunday and you cut off all the connection that I don't want to go anywhere. I'm ready to, as I said, watch TV and fantasize about how people treat and how hang out with each other in a drama or whatever type of media we consume. But we really don't want to be part of it. We watch people talking to each other, but we don't want to talk ourselves. Living in a dream. The third one is أَبَرُّكُمْ بِقَرَابَةِ, the Prophet said. Fourth, وَأَشَدُّكُمْ حُبًّا لِإِخْوَانِهِ فِي دِينِهِ, the one who has love for his fellow brothers in Iman, for his community, for Ummah. We love all mu'mineen and we love all brothers and sisters. Ashad means the one who has the strongest love. You care for one another. That's why friendship is also necessary, is a supplement to relatives. We don't just stick with relatives, we go further than that. We find people, friends and companions that they are a great asset to our lives. They can bring good to our lives. They can be someone to uplift us and to love them for that. Don't be just a user or God forbid a leech. Just take advantage of them, but love them, to care for them, to go out of your way to help them as well. Number 5, وَأَصْبَرُكُمْ عَلَى الْحَقِّ. The most patient of you on truth. You know, sometimes you're on the right path, you're going to hear comments. You will be labeled as ignorant, you will be labeled as closed-minded, because you do the right thing. On a Saturday, on a Friday night, you went to the masjid. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? In America, you go to the masjid, you think everybody will praise us? People come. At that moment that they make that comment, we need hilm, first of all. The worst thing we can do if somebody said, oh, you're a loser for going to the masjid. So, no, you're a loser. Let me tell you why you're... Stop. Sometimes silence is the best response. Don't lower yourself. You don't need to prove yourself to others. Those who don't have respect for you, those who don't think high of you, let them. The reason I go to the masjid is not because of you, that now you have a bad opinion about me, I'm going to stop. I'm not going because of you. If I am, I'm going for the wrong reason. It's supposed to be for a bigger purpose. But that brought me to a beautiful hadith. I just came across this hadith myself recently. You know, we respect people, but we should know also people's opinion should not be the reason that we fail on truth. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam said, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. He said, the one who make a transaction that they are selling Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure to acquire and achieve people's pleasure. So you make Allah angry to make people happy. Allah said, وَكَلَهُ اللَّهِ إِلَيْهِمْ. Allah will abandon you to people. So okay, you chose them over me, go. Get what you want from them. And they will disappoint you. One day they're on your side, one day they're against you. يَوْمٌ لَكْ وَيَوْمٌ عَلَيْكَ. One day with you, one day against you. Remember the Prophet, that now we have all these ways to send salawat to him and to remember him. At the beginning that wasn't the case, right? Calling him, what Quran said? The ayah that we have in many of our houses. وَإِن يَكَادُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا لَيُزْلِقُونَكَ بِأَبْصَارِهِمْ. They were coming at Prophet to hurt him with any means possible, right? لَمَّا سَمِعُوا الذِّكْرَ وَيَقُولُونَ إِنَّهُ لَمَجْنُونَ. They call him majnoon, insane. Some of those people were enemies of the Prophet. Some of these Sahabas that people honor, before they became Muslim, they were planning to beat up Prophet. Some of them actually attacked Prophet. This is people. One day with you, one day against you, is the other way around. So Imam al-Hussein said, if you sell Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure, you get his anger over people's happiness, Allah will leave you to them. But if it's the other way around, means between Allah and people, you choose Allah. You said the truth, I'll stick with haqq. Allah is truth and I'll stick with Allah. Kafahullah. Allah will be sufficient and enough for you. Allah will be more than enough. Hussein alayhi salam, people abandoned him. Allah said, I'm enough for you. People, majority didn't answer your call. Just 100, few people answered. I'm enough. To believe in that is a struggle. That's why people, as we age, we see that. When we're young, we don't see it because we're looking for quick result. Yeah, I did tawakkul, I trust Allah, but nothing happened. Because we expect things happen quickly. But as you live longer and longer, you see Allah is opening some knots and ties in your life that you don't even expect. Because you trusted Him. Allah is slowly showing Himself to you. That's why sabr is and haqq are companies. وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا. Sometimes in order to see the truth, you need to be patient. It takes time. Hussein alayhi salam It didn't become right away. It took time. Until Bani Umayyah collapsed, it took time. But once it collapsed, you see the truth now. Millions of people saying Labbaik Ya Hussein is to the call that he made 1400 years ago. Allah said, be patient. At the day that they tried to, in Hudaybiyah peace treaty, or the treaty of Hudaybiyah, when Prophet signed with the mushrikeen, they didn't let Prophet be mentioned as the Rasulullah. They said, oh, we have an agreement between you and us, Medina and Mecca, but in this agreement, you have to erase the title Rasulullah. Ali alayhi salam didn't agree. Prophet said it, and he said, okay, whatever Prophet said, but I will not erase his name on the agreement. But Allah said, okay, let him erase his name. It comes, have sabr, it comes a time that his name is right now is the most popular name in the world. Without a doubt. Because the way sometimes Muhammad is not the most popular because the spelling is very different. Is it with the A, with the E, and it's also Ahmad and Mustafa. If you put all of them together, the names of the Prophet, it without a doubt is the most popular name in the world. In every corner of the world, in Adhan, his name is being mentioned. وَرَفَعْنَا لَكَ ذِكْرَكَ. Allah said, we will elevate your name and your remembrance. But you have to have sabr. Because people in Hudaybiyah, Muslims said, so you messenger of God, you said we're going to get to Mecca, we're going to do Hajj. What happened? Because in the Hudaybiyah agreement, it was that Muslim cannot do Hajj this year. They have to go back. You have to come later. This is the term of agreement. Somebody starts saying, Ya Rasulullah, you told us we're going to do it. And Prophet said, I told you, I didn't say when. So we will do it. It was the next year with the victory of Mecca happened, Fatah Mecca, they came. Sabr. We're looking for quick result. And haqq usually doesn't come with ajala. خُلِقَ الْإِنسان مِنْ عَجَل. With haste and rush doesn't happen. But what Imam Ali said to Imam Hassan, which I will finish, inshallah, I leave the rest for tomorrow night. Let's leave this tradition for tomorrow night. I believe we benefit more. What Imam Ali alayhi salam says when it comes to people and how should we interact with them. I would say Imam alayhi salam hits the bullseye the way he described people and the way he talked to his son. I leave that for tomorrow night, inshallah, because I want to finish this hadith. So, Prophet said the most similar view to me is the one asbarakum al haq, is the most patient with the truth. You don't abandon the truth because you're under hardship, because you're under pressure. Wa akdhamukum lil ghayth. I leave inshallah the rest of this hadith for tomorrow night. So what we covered tonight was ahsanukum khulqan, the one with the best manners. A'adhamukum hilman, with the best and highest level of forbearance. Abarrukum biqarabati, the most helpful and good to their relatives. Ashaddukum hubban li ikhwani fi dinin, to be good and to love those who are fellow brethren in iman. And number 5, wa asbarukum ala al-haq, and the one who's most patient with the truth. These are 5 ways how to walk on the footstep of Prophet. This is he himself telling us. Remember, salat is important, fasting important, hajj, all of them important. But Prophet doesn't mention them. Why? Because these are ahkam, these are rules that we do. They're supposed to have an impact and influence on us. Prophet said, if you do salat the way I taught you, if you recite Quran the way I brought it to you, if you practice your deen the way I teach you, this should be the way you become. Because who is the first one who practiced Islam? Who? Prophet himself. Right? The first one to uphold the teaching of deen is himself. And he said, look at me, when I practiced deen, when I did Salatul Layl, Namaz al-Shab, fasting, I did all those. The result of that my character became like this. This is who I am. So as a Muslim that you follow me and my message, you should become like that, should make you this kind of a person. If it doesn't, something is missing. Something is not right. If you do all the salat, but your akhlaq is horrible, you should fix something in the salat. Inna salat tanha anil fahsha. It should stop you from being bad. If it doesn't, something is missing. Figure out what it is. Because it's easy, sometimes we say, okay, I do the wajib, I do the obligations, but my character is not the one. And remember, people, especially those who look at us, they don't see our salat. Majority of time, they don't look at you pray, you fast. They don't. Non-Muslim, do you think they know we go to Hajj? Not every one of them know about pilgrimage and Hajj. What they notice about us? The first thing they notice about us is what? Tell me. Akhlaq, manners. Your manners is the gateway, is the door to your iman. So look at the packaging. If the packaging is horrible, you've seen those game shows that they say, okay, which suitcase you want and all that, right? If the suitcase is a horrible suitcase, I don't care what's inside. Please keep it away from me. Does it smell so bad? I don't want to. So akhlaq matters. It's not that, oh, okay, just your akhlaq is good, don't pray. No, it's important what's inside as well. The packaging should be good, the akhlaq should be good, and then iman, it affects the outside. Zahir and batin, they should be the one resembling each other. My iman, it shows in my akhlaq. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to be on the path of Quran, the path of the Prophet and his family, and inshallah to be the one who uphold the sunnah, the teaching, the lifestyle of the Prophet, inshallah. Let's say a salam to Rasulullah from here all the way to Medina to Nabi, Medina Munawwara, a city that Rasulullah transformed the lives of many from there. When he began, his wife Khadija Kubra salamullah alayha and his cousin Ali ibn Abi Talib. And now Sabr teaches us that billions and billions of people, more than 2 billion, and it's some statistic, we don't have proper one, they follow the path of that messenger who started with 2 people, from 2 to 2 billion, or even more. This is the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A man that his day of death was the most difficult day for Ali ibn Abi Talib and Fatima Zahra and for the Muslim Ummah. Let's say salam to Rasulullah. السلام عليك يا أبا القاسم يا رسول الله يا إمام الرحمة يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا. One more time. يا وجيها اشفع لنا. In the final days of Prophet's life, when Rasulullah was in the bed, Fatima Zahra was nursing him. Someone knocked at the door and Fatima Zahra went to the door. And a man said, I'm here to get permission to see and visit Prophet. And Fatima Zahra responded, oh man, my father is not in a state to visit anyone, to accept anyone. Go and come back another time. Rahimakallah, may Allah have mercy on you. Go. Prophet is losing consciousness, regaining consciousness. He's in and out of his estate. The second time after hours, once again, the same man came at the door. From behind the door, he said, I'm here to visit Prophet. Give me permission to see him. Same response from Fatima to Zahra, that my father is not in his right feeling to see anyone, to visit anyone. When the third time the knock of the door came, Rasulullah opened his eyes and looked at Fatima to Zahra. And he said, my dear daughter Fatima, the one who's coming and asking permission is the one who don't ask permission from anyone. He's my brother Israel. He's the angel of death that Allah sent. But not even angels will enter this house without permission. Let me be, my dear daughter. On the final moment of his life, our Prophet's wasiyah and advice was caring and being concerned with people. This is the Imam that we call him, Ya Imam al-Rahmah. Our Prophet is the Imam of mercy. He is the one who leads the path of mercy and kindness. On the final hours, he cared for his ummah. He was concerned about the fate and the future of the ummah. But what Allah says in the Quran, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. O Prophet, tell people, tell Muslims, if they want to compensate, if they want to repay you for what you've done for them, tell them to have love for those who are close to you. But Ya Rasulallah, how they treated your qurba, how they treated your Fatima, how they treated your Hassan, how they treated your Hussein. You knew because you cried for Hussein before your departure, when you mentioned that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Jibreel told you about what's coming for Hussein alayhi salam. We have that Fatima to Zahra was crying. This bond between this father and daughter is more than a normal bond of a father and daughter. This is the same daughter that whenever Prophet would go to Fatima's house, he would say, whenever I miss the fragrance of heaven, I go to Fatima. Sayyidat Nisa'il Alamin. So she's grieving, she is sad in these times. And we have that Prophet ask her to come close, and he whispered something to Fatima's ear. And Ali ibn Abi Talib said, after a long time, I saw the first time, after a long time, Fatima smiled. Because since a Prophet, he was in bed and his death was approaching, I didn't see him smile. So I asked her later, Ya bint Rasulullah, O daughter of the Prophet, what the Messenger of Allah told me. Fatima salamullah alayha said, my father told me, my dear Fatima, stop grieving, be patient. But let me give you this news that you will be the first of our family to be reunited with me. It will not be a long time. The firaq and this separation will not be for long. That's what was comforting to me, to know that I'll be reunited with my father Rasulullah. But after Prophet passed away, Ali ibn Abi Talib is the one who did the kafan. He's the one who did the ghusl of the Prophet. And they buried the Prophet in his own room, in his own hujra. And we have the days and night Fatima to Zahra would cry in the grieving of her father. To the point that they made complaint to Ali ibn Abi Talib, Ya Ali, tell Fatima to cry during the day or night, that her crying is disturbing us. So we have that Ali ibn Abi Talib went and made a temporary shelter, Baytul Ahzan, for Fatima to cry and grieve without any disturbance. But this father and daughter had their own conversation. Rasulullah comforting Fatima to Zahra on his final days. But there was another conversation between a father and daughter. And that was when Abu Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam was doing wada' to his family, his farewell to his family. Ya Rasulullah, you said, أحب الله من أحب حسين. Allah loved those who love Hussein. And his family, as he was going toward the battle, they said their final farewell and goodbye to him. And his daughter was crying, Sakina was crying, Ruqayya were crying. And he looked at them with kindness and said, my dear daughters, don't cry right now. There will be many more tragedies coming your way. It will be enough time for you to cry. Be patient. Don't let enemies to rejoice and to be happy to see you in tears right now. And we have that he made Ruqayya to sit with him and comforted her, talked to her, and make sure before the last time that he's going to see her, this girl is going to remember as a good moment of separation from her father. But it came days later, 40 days later, less than that, when Abu Abdullah's head was brought to the ruins of Sham. And we have when Ruqayya saw the head of her father, she couldn't believe that this is the same father that she said goodbye to. She wasn't able to recognize the head of Abu Abdullah. Imagine a head who was separated from the body, a head who was on a spear from one station to another, days on their way from Karbala to Kufa and Sham. Once she recognized that this is her father, she came and picked up the head of her father. And what she said, Man alladhi aytamani fi sighari sinni, who made me an orphan at such a young age, who treated you this way, who have done this to you, my dear father Hussein. It's been a long time since the last time I saw you, my dear father Hussein. Sallallahu alayka ya Sayyidi wa ya Mawla ya Rasul Allah ya Habib Allah ya Khayra Khalqillah ya Khataman Nabiyyin wa ala la'natullah على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Ya Allah, by the honor of Rasulullah, help us to be among the followers of our deen, the followers of our Quran and book, and followers of the teachings of the Quran and Ahlul Bayt. By the honor of Rasulullah, grant us the shafa'ah and intercession of the Prophet and his family in the Day of Judgment. Ya Allah, increase the love of Prophet, increase the love of his qurbah and his family in our hearts. And Ya Allah, help us to be among those who follow the path of Rasulullah through the Imam of our time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. And Ya Allah, hasten in his reappearance. And Ya Allah, help us to be among the true awaiters of Imam of our time. Ya Allah, all those who are marid, all those who have their hajat, their requests and needs, Ya Allah, fulfill their needs and hajat that is for the good and the khair of their dunya and akhirah. And Ya Allah, grant all the marid, all those who are ill, with immediate shifa and healing and cure. And Ya Allah, bless the soul of all of our marhumeen, especially the marhumeen of the sponsors of these majalis, and the marhumeen of the volunteers, and marhumeen of all the participants tonight. اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا ولوالدي والدينا ولمن له حق علينا ولجميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات. رحم الله لمن قرأ الفاتحة مع الصلوات. اللهم محمد. Remember, inshallah, tomorrow night we dedicate our majlis to Prophet and Imam al-Ridha alayhi salam. Tonight we did it for the Holy Prophet. So tomorrow night, inshallah, for Imam al-Ridha alayhi salam, make sure to participate in these majalis. Let's finish with the Azadari and Laqmiya. Everybody stand up. Let's say salam to Rasulullah 3 times from here. May Allah, inshallah, convey our salam and blessing to Khatam al-Anbiya, Rasulullah, inshallah. السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا نبي الله السلام عليك يا نبي الله السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا نبي الله السلام عليك يا نبي الله السلام عليك يا نبي الله صلى الله على سيدنا ومولانا رسول الله ورحمة الله وبركاته صلوات.
جواب نوحه مظلوم یا محمد فریاد یا محمد مظلوم یا محمد فریاد یا محمد مظلوم یا محمد فریاد محمد مظلوم فریاد یا محمد مثل یک سایه چه زود از سر این خانه گذشت مثل یک سایه چه زود از سر این خانه گذشت چه غریبان 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 گذشت چه غریبان 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 گذشت چشم را بس ولی صبر نکرد این قوم چشم را بس ولی صبر نکردند این قوم پیش او بود علی صبر نکردند این قوم پیش او بود علی صبر نکردند این قوم ای دل از غربت این لحظه تشییع بگو ای دل از غربت این لحظه تشییع بگو از غریبانه ترین لحظه تشییع بگو از مظلوم یا محمد مظلوم یا محمد مظلوم یا محمد فریاد یا محمد مظلوم یا محمد فریاد یا محمد اندک اندک اثر زهر به جانش افتاد روی دامان علی بود توانش افتاد شهر در مکر و سکوت است علی تنها شد یک تن گرم هنوز از علی تنها شد یک طرف داشت علی آب به پیکر میریخت یک طرف داشت جماعت سر مادر میریخت آب غسلش به تنش بود که هیزم پر شد شعله پیچیده به در نوبت یک چادر شد بدنش روی زمین بود به زحمت افتاد وای ناموس علی بین جماعت افتاد در عزای پدرش بود که سیلی را خورد سوگوار پسرش بود که سیلی را خورد تا که مولا کفنش کرد زنش را کشتند تا کفن روی تنش کرد زنش را کشتند دست بر پهلوی خود داشت پرش خود به درد پهلو که خم اش کرد سرش خود در مظلوم محمد فریاد یا محمد مظلوم محمد فریاد یا محمد صلی علی محمد و آل محمد
در سوک نبی جهان پر از ماتم شد، در سوگ نبی جهان پر از ماتم شد. زین داغ گران قامت هستی خم شد. دیوار و در مدینه فریاد زنان می گفت دل فاطمه پرغم شد، می گفت دل فاطمه پرغم شد. آسمان خون گریه کن امشب که زهرا مضطر است، خاتم پیغمبر است. آسمان خون گریه کن امشب که زهرا مضطر است، ماتم پیغمبر است. همه آسمان خون گریه کن امشب که زهرا مضطر است، ماتم پیغمبر است. شور ماتم در جهان است یا که شور محشر است، ماتم پیغمبر است، ماتم پیغمبر است. ناله جن و بشر از غم به عرش اکبر است، ماتم پیغمبر است، ماتم پیغمبر است. هر که را بینم ز خون دل دو چشم او تر است، ماتم پیغمبر است، ماتم پیغمبر است. این چه غوغایی است که اینسان گشته پیدا در جهان، هر طرف بینم به گردون رفته از مردم فغان. عالمی ماتم سرا از رحلت آن سرور است، ماتم پیغمبر است، ماتم پیغمبر است. آسمان خون گریه کن امشب که زهرا مضطر است، ماتم پیغمبر است. آسمان خون گریه کن امشب که زهرا مضطر است، ماتم پیغمبر است. سرور ما رفت از دنیا و دلها مضطر است، ماتم پیغمبر است، ماتم پیغمبر است. پیکر بی جان او بر روش حیدر است، ماتم پیغمبر است. پیکر بی جان او بر روش دوش حیدر است، ماتم پیغمبر است. آسمان خون گریه کن امشب که زهرا مضطر است، ماتم پیغمبر است. آسمان خون گریه کن امشب که زهرا مضطر است، ماتم پیغمبر است، ماتم پیغمبر است. صلوات.
ای دل بیا که موسم آه و فغان رسید، یعنی عزای ماتم پیغمبران رسید. و حسرتا که حضرت زهرا یتیم شد، در ماتم پدر بلا بشنیم جان رسید. عن ماه 14 بدنش چون هلال شد، ظلم و ستم ز بس که با آن ناتوان رسید. رحلت مصطفی ختم رسولان شده، فاطمه زین عزا زار و پریشان شده. رحلت مصطفی ختم رسولان شده، فاطمه زین عزا زار و پریشان شده. عالمی در عزا خونجگر مرتضی، وای از این غم، وای از این غم. وای از این غم وای از این غم امت بے حیا دلش غم خستند امت بے حیا دلش غم خستند در دندان بو ز سنگ و بشکستند در خروش و نوا جمله در این نزا وای از این غم وای از این غم وای از این غم وای از غم وای از این غم سنگو بر پای او زدند و از رای کین سنگو بر پای او زدند و از رای کین بر سرش خار و خس ریختن مشرکین پیر ز ظلم و جفا از گروه دغا وای از این غم 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 در عزای پدر فاطمه دل خون شده در عزای پدر فاطمه دل خون شده ناله و شیونش بسوی گردون شده در عزای پدر میزند و بسر وای از این غم وای از این غم وای از این غم وای از این غم وای یک طرف ماتم رسول اطهر بود یک طرف ماتم رسول اطهر بود یک طرف خونجگر سبت پیامبر بود همه سن مجتبی خون جگرت جفا وای از این غم 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 خسرو ملک توش شاه خراسان رضا خسرو ملک توش شاه خراسان رضا ای امام بحق اجر کو الله شاه مسلمین دیدتر مسلمین دیدتر مؤمنین خونجگر وای از این غم 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 اجرکم الله بارگو پیامبر که علی جان من است بجان غریب و اسم محمد صلوات
السلام عليك يا رسول الله يا نبي الله يا خير خلق يا خاتم النبيين السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين ويا إمام المتقين علي بن أبي طالب السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين السلام عليكم أيها الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة أجمعين السلام على علي بن الحسين زين العابدين السلام على محمد بن علي الباقر السلام على جعفر بن محمد الصادق السلام على موسى بن جعفر الكاظم السلام على علي بن موسى الرضا السلام على محمد بن علي التقي الجواد السلام على علي بن محمد الهادي النقي السلام على حسن بن علي العسكري الزكي السلام عليك يا صاحب الزمان يا خليفة الرحمن يا إمام الإنس والجان عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة ورحمة الله وبركاته أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر صدق الله العلي العظيم والأرواح المؤمنات ولشفاء مرضانا رحم الله لمن فاتحة مع الصلوات
مغنون میاد در انجمنها مثل علی در جام تنهای قال الحسن عليه السلام لا